This process is being sponsored by the candidates themselves. They were unable to be included in the, oh, sure, yeah. Thank you. They were unable to be included in the League of Women Voters program because of league rules, as I think was explained earlier. But we felt it was important that they be allowed to get out in front of the people as well. So here we are. And I'm going to fumble my way through being a moderator. I've never done this before.
Would you speak louder, please?
Well, I'll try.
Who are you?
I'm Bob Hansen. I'm an incumbent on the town board, and I have lost out in the primary. So I'm not going to be on the ballot this time. So I guess this is my swan song. I've already had my last town board meeting. I also serve on the Vilas County Board. I'm the 9th District Supervisor for Vilas County. I'm going to ask that the candidates each make a brief opening statement, much like we did in the earlier presentation, and explain who they are and what position they're running for. And let's see, let's start with Carl. Are you ready to start?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity to address you guys. My name is Carl Edwards. I'm running for town chairman. What about me? I was raised in Lactic Flambeau. I used to work at the Lactic Flambeau supermarket for Mike Ashenbrenner, and then Roger, and then Jim. So I'm vested in the community. Went to Lactic Flambeau grade school. Actually, I went to Head Start, and then Lactic Flambeau grade school, and then Lakeland Union High School. I've left here to join the military. Spent 4 years in the Marine Corps. My oldest daughter, I've been married for 34 years to my wife, Lisa. 32 years. We have 3 children. My oldest daughter started school, so we moved back home. Right now, she works for Washington State University. She just received her master's. My middle daughter, Kendra, is studying chemical engineering. My son, Brady, is a junior at the high school. So my experience, when I was working with the tribe and the chairman, I used to meet with Francis. We'd meet every week, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, just so we had some dialogue going back through. We know each other, so let's talk, let's communicate. I think that's foremost. I spent some time with the council, and I said before I was chair, I worked closely with Mr. Holprin when he was there, worked on economic development, tourism, natural resources, just to name a few. I know Mr. Tiffany personally, I worked with him. Mr. Meyer, I worked with him. I've worked with the state government, with all the departments, from workforce development, natural resources, to roads. So I have a lot of, knowledge and people that I've known, I've worked with, and I guess you could even ask them how I was to work with. I'm very open. I like to communicate. I like to collaborate. And I think the more that we can do with collaboration and communication is going to be what Lactic Flambeau needs right now, and that's why I'm running. I think there's a lot of opportunity out there for us to do more for the community of Lactic Flambeau, and I think now is kind of the time to work. I've testified in front of Congress. I used to work with Mr. Feingold, so I have a lot of connections, and I think that with what I'm bringing to the table, my past knowledge and my openness and communication, I think I'm a good fit right now. I think we need it right now for the town of Lactic Flambeau. The tribe and the town needs to work together. There's so many opportunities out there for us. You can't sit here and put up a wall. So I'm open to dialogue. I'm open to changing the meetings. I'm open to a 5-person board. I'm open to having the tribe and the town work together. Let's save some money. Let's bring some people here. I mean, it's about tourism. We live in a tourism area. Some of the trails are closed as of today. But it's good they kept them open. I mean, you need some more snowmobilers. So with that being said, I'm open to any questions you guys have. And I will turn it over to Stacey.
Well, thank you, Carl. My name's Stacey Stone. So I live in Flambeau, Wisconsin here for the last, I would say 21 years. I'm originally from Lake Tomahawk, Wisconsin, out in the Newbold area. So I'm grew up very rural. I went to school at Northern Pines High School, a graduate in 1995, starting to age myself there. I got my associate's degree with Nicolay College in 2008 as an administrative associate's degree. It was the first ever business management, accounting, IT, and administration all combined degree. I just recently got in for my undergraduate with Purdue University for my legal studies. So I'll be starting that soon. I'm married to my husband. We have 2 children, a 23-year-old, a 16-year-old, 1 grandchild. So I am a grandma now. Both my children went through the Flambeau grade school. They went through the Lakeland Union High School. My son's currently at Lakeland Union High School. We do a lot of sports with all of our kids. We have another family member that we take care of. We've been a foster home for a few years in the past. I know that life is really challenging with all the things that we go through, and we try to do what we can for our community. All the way from volunteering, for our youth baseball, all the way for a lot of the activities and different things and socials that go on in the community. We're very community driven. I know that I completed, I'm going for the treasurer position. I did have the certification in the 2 CFR 200 Super Circular for the grant compliance training. I did receive a contract and purchasing certification in 2013 when I was a purchasing agent for the Flambeau tribe. I have worked with numerous grants working at the Great Lakes Intertribal Council. I have done a lot of database analysis and collecting data and looking at different trainings I have received, working for the epidemiology department in Great Lakes as administrative assistant, all the way from a lot of software and hardware programs. I also used to be an adjunct teacher for the Nicolay Area Technical College. I was the first ever associate's degree, to be able to do be a Nicolay teacher over in Rylander. I did teach one of their first Microsoft Office suites here for Nicolay in the Flambeau community, and I was part of getting the database put together and all the surveys that was done in the community to show what we needed for Nicolay College here in classes. And from all the analysis I did, we were able to start doing programming here with Nicolay years back in 2008 here, with the education department. I'm running for treasurer because I think I have a lot to offer, to the community that, with my education experience that we can really expand on some coordinated efforts between different ways of looking at, saving taxpayers' money by looking at different grants and, utilizing some of the opportunity zone issues, to do coordinated services within our, dual governments and find ways of being able to provide the economic development that we need in our community to enhance our community for all members. So that's a little bit about myself and what I'm looking at.
Thank you for that. We have some questions here from the people in the audience. Let's start with a couple of candidate-specific questions because you're running for different positions. I have a couple of questions here that are specific to one candidate. And let's start with one for you, Stacey. What would you be willing to do by way of setting up town meetings specifically on town finances? Would you be willing to do that on a quarterly basis, a semi-annual basis?
Actually, I think it's important for the community to be involved in the financials. I mean, it's the taxpayer dollars that needs to be reported, and that should be done on a monthly basis at every meeting.
Well, if we're going to do a special town meeting on finances, though, would you? That's a bigger undertaking. Yeah. Would you be willing to do that?
Yes.
On a quarterly or semi-annual basis?
And I think transparency is good, so quarterly would be really awesome to have quarterly reports to see where we're at. I mean, taxes are usually due, semi-annual, so having a reflection every quarter to see where the finances are at would be really beneficial to the community to see where the taxpayer dollars are going.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that you favor transparency.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that. Carol, as chairman, how would you attempt to gain trust in both the tribal community and the non-tribal community? The community as a whole, I should say.
How to gain trust. First off, I'd have an open door policy. I would reach out to President Wildcat out there to bring the tribe into town just together. That way we're all on the same page. I think we can collaborate, we can communicate together. We're going to go a lot further. So I think the openness, my phone numbers, I'm in the book. I've been here, I moved back here, I believe it was 20 years ago. I was gone for a little bit, but I think my community support here, I spent 10 years plus on the school board. So I know the finances, working with the finances with the town, with being on a school board, and I had open door policy then. My children have since went on to high school, and the current school board now, I think if you have more people that have children in there, they're gonna have more in it for themselves. So when I stepped aside from the school board, another young lady went in there, and she has young children. I believe Brittany is out in the audience right now. She's running, so I think if you have kids here, you're getting more with the community. I do volunteering. I sometimes go to the food pantry, so I think with that, I can be trusted and work for you guys and work for everybody. It's a community. You have a unique situation. You have a tribe and you have a town. So let's work together. Let's make everything better. Let's use dollars together. Let's work on some grant dollars together. Let's make Flambeau a destination. At one time, it was a destination. Let's get the tourism back up here. We live in a beautiful place. Let's just make it more beautiful and work together, and everyone can benefit. Everybody.
Okay. Again, this one I think is more specific to you, Carol, than to Stacey. Stacey, if you have something to add on this, feel free. But how would you envision getting community input? Would that be done through a special input event where people could come and talk to you or the board?
I think to get the community involved, you need to be out there. I am agreed with a larger board. That way more people can get out there. If you have 5 people on there, it's easy to talk to 5 into 3. So I think that's a positive. I think that if we have quarterly meetings with finances, that would be something positive. I know there's a meeting coming up with the ambulance for the new fire building. So I think the more you can get out there for people so that they know what's going on with your community, the involvement will come. Change the meetings till 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. 1 o'clock is not really conducive for the membership of Lac du Flambeau. I think if you have it later on, people are getting off work, they can come and attend a meeting. I am in favor of bringing stuff up at the meeting. I'm not in favor of acting on it at the meeting. I'd prefer to have, if someone wants to bring something up, let's look into it. Let's bring it back, but let's inform the rest of the supervisors. Let's get everything out there for them to read ahead of time. That way they can make an informed decision. So if someone's bringing something up at a meeting, let's write it down. We'll look into it in the future, but let's get some information on it first. That way you're not going in blind. And then bring it up, and by all means, let's hear what the concerns are and go from there. But let's be informed as well on both sides. Maybe involve some county government, maybe involve some state government, We have a unique position we're sitting in, and let's use it.
Stacey, do you have anything to add?
Well, just add, I know that, us taxpayers that are paying it, we would like to say on even projected projects that are going through, every project that we pay with the tax dollars money should be having a community input into that. we should be getting information from the community saying, hey, is this something we want to do? Do we want to build onto a fire, like this recent one, fire department, or do we want to build a whole new one? Do we need needed equipment? Have a priority list of where our financials should be put in order to sit there and say, okay, well, maybe there's some way that we can coordinate and collaborate these services within the other dual government. Maybe there's some assistance that we can help each other there. So I think that there's rooms of opportunity for more community input, not just from the community, but even from our neighboring government.
For those of you who are baffled by the reference to the fire department project, there is a current proposal to add on and remodel the fire barn at a cost of $1.75 million. And that is coming up for a special meeting later, let's see. April 22nd, is that right?
Thought so.
Okay, April 22nd. Just to clarify that. Now, let's see, Carl, you had touched on your experience working with elected officials. How would you leverage that to?
I think my history.
Function as
I think my history working with elected officials, other municipalities. I know Mr. Timmons very well. I know Mr. Hartzheim, Jane Bueller to the north. With my prior experience, I think coming to the table, they already know me. They know what I'm about. And I have a very positive relationship with even the ones I do not get along with. I mean, me and Mr. Meyer don't see eye to eye, but we have to work together. Me and Mr. Tiffany doesn't see eye to eye, but we got to work together. So I mean, we need. My past is going to show that I have a history of communicating and cooperating, and what's going to be beneficial and best for the town of Flambeau is what you have to strive for. And I think with my past experience with Senator Holprum, I mean, we work together, and there's common stuff we can work on, and there's other stuff that we need to, maybe hash out a little bit more. But let's agree to disagree, but let's work together.
Okay. Stacey, this one is more for you. Although, Carl, you may have some input on it as well. But I'll address it to Stacey first. As far as finances for the school are concerned, you believe there are grants out there that could be obtained for traditional and cultural programs at the school?
Actually, I know that we have been looking at different grants, and we do have some active grants right now that is working in the school that the tribe holds. But there are a lot of different grants out there. I think with Tony Evers in there right now that we're going to be looking at some changes within the school system. One of the biggest things is in our area right now is the special needs department, the special education. We have such a higher rate of special education children in there. And some of the things that we've been putting into place in the last couple of weeks as working with this is getting more of the health part behind our emotionally disturbed children in the school system. So that way we're concentrating on everything when it comes to the children. So the tribe has put a special interest in helping the school kind of conquer some of the issues that we're having with special ed. I know that the funding that they have right now is very shortfall, that the accommodations that they need in order to take care of the children correctly right now is not being met. So I would be interested in looking at all opportunities for increased funding for the school itself.
Okay.
Bob, I think there are some MOUs out there that if the town and the tribe would do an MOU and then work with the school with an MOU, there's grant dollars out there, but you have to memorandum of understanding is what MOU is. So you need to have those in place so that way, I know there were some other funding dollars that Flambeau town did lose out on because there wasn't an MOU with the tribe. So that's one thing that the attorneys need to look at is make sure we have something in place. Whoever is in that office, we still got to work together. So whoever is in the chairman or the treasurer or the supervisors, you need to work together with the tribe, get some MOUs together, have it down on paper. When you do all these grant dollars and you're approaching the state and the federal government, you have an MOU that stands stronger than we're from like the Flambeau. Well, there's a tribe within there, so let's work together. So I think you really should, whoever is in there should look at an MOU, which will be beneficial for everybody. So.
Thank you.
I just want to expand on that too, that there is some interesting cultural things that are coming down within different departments that you wouldn't think of, federally, that the school can go after. It's not just education dollars. There's dollars in, like different areas like FEMA, EPA, different areas that we could be accessing cultural dollars to bring back into the school system as well.
Okay, thank you. Now, historically, the Native community has not participated very heavily in town government. What do you think you can do to encourage the Native community to be full participants in town government?
You want Stacey or myself?
I was thinking the same thing.
I think that if you educate and get people out to vote, your community is going to be, I guess, more well-rounded. I think that as a military Marine Corps vet, people die for that right to vote. And the community of Lac du Flambeau has a lot of veterans. They stood up. And so I think that's a right that people need to exercise more. I think if you educate them more, they're going to get out and vote. It's all in education. Years prior, there was a lot of Native members that were on town government back in the earlier days. I think Mike Christensen might have been the last one that was on, but there have been other ones that have stood for Lac du Flambeau town. And so we have a history of it. We may have stepped back, but I think education and getting people out to vote and make whatever the issues are, make them known. And I think the more you educate, the better off we're going to be.
Do you have anything to add to that, Stacey?
Well, I think there's a lot of misconceptions on both sides that just need to be, educated on. Being in a mixed home, my husband and I went through that just personally, even with our own, families of knowing and not knowing. And just sitting down and just educating on both sides and bringing those pieces together. A lot of it is just misinterpretation or misunderstanding of what's actually, being offered. And I see that on the government to government side too. Sometimes it's just sitting down and having that dialogue and actually doing some coordinated services in collaboration to understand that you both are going after, both governments are going after the same thing. They're just saying it in different ways and trying to bring that together to actually enhance the community more by putting that plan down together to say, this is your plan, but this is actually our plan because we're all saying the same thing. How do we get it done? And that's what I would say.
Okay. Now, let's see, this one says for Carl. As a town chairman, how would you feel about establishing more official town committees made up of residents for, such things as parks, biker recreational trails, and that sort of thing?
Repeat that in a short form.
The judge would tell me to restate my question. As a town chairman, how would you feel about forming committees of citizens?
What I look at with committees are great to have, but you need to make sure and keep them in line as far as what exactly this committee doing. Is it Parks and Recreation? Then maybe the town board, I'm not sure if they currently do it, but you have a committee and they should report back to the town board. Or to the tribal council if it's a joint committee, say it's economic. So they both should have minutes, they both should report back so that we know as a town what they're doing, and all the members of the town know what they're doing. If you know what your left and your right hand is doing, so we need to report back from them. I'm in favor of that. Hopefully it can be a mixture, a boiling pot of people, but you need to answer and report back to somebody. So we all know what's going on. You have a 20-minute, half an hour, hour meeting. What'd you talk about? So let's get some reporting back. I'm all in favor of these committees, but you got to report back. You got to have minutes. You got to have someone recording something to report back. I think it's good, but a melting pot is better. And we all know what's going on. I think if it comes to the town, maybe that person in charge of the committee could come and give a little synopsis of what happened, what their discussions are, and what they will be discussing. And maybe the other members of the committee can say, okay, well, what about this, looking at this in this particular committee? So the input's going to be huge. And it should be open to anybody. You may not be in a committee, but let's still attend a meeting. See what's going on. You know, maybe you might want to be in that committee, or maybe you have some input. Maybe it's going to be shoreline erosion. I think the setback's 100 foot. I wouldn't mind 200 foot. But that would be up to that committee. It's okay. I mean, we need to protect our resources, right? So maybe that it's 200 feet, not 100 feet. But let's give it a committee to look at it and see what's going to happen. But please report back. Let everyone know what's going on. Otherwise,
I think the question anticipated that the committees would be responsible to the town, would report.
they would be responsible to the town, whether it's a joint, then it's a town and a tribe. Otherwise, it's town. You're responsible. You need to bring it back. You need to answer to the people that, you know, you're sitting on here, so answer to them.
Okay. Now I'm going to wrap up with one final question here that will be to both of you. What would you do to maintain open communications between the tribal government and the town government?
You want to go first? You want me to?
You can go ahead. You're on the roll.
I think that communication between the tribe and the town is essential. I mean, if you're elected as a town chairman, town supervisor, town treasurer, wherever it's going to be, you need to have open dialogue, not only with current president Wildcat, but you also need to reach out to the county board as well. There's a lot of things going on, so you need to keep your head above the water, get everything, evaluate everything, and report back to the supervisors, report back to the town. You need to have transparency. You need to make sure everyone's on the same page. Openness, dialogue, whether it's with the current Governor Evers or whether it's with other county supervisors, you need to have open dialogue. And you need to answer to the people that elected you.
Okay, do you have any ideas on that one, Stacey?
I think Carl's right. I think that there's so many pieces of moving government that's with that the town has to adhere to, you know, with the state, with the county, with the tribe. You know, we have all these different forms of government that we need to be transparent with, and with our community, for our community to be transparent with what kind of things are out there, maybe new regulations, different things are happening on a state level. We need to stay active within our whole entire portion of what constitutes us as a town, and to make sure our individuals in our community are aware of what's even going on a state, county, tribal level. There could be so many coordinated efforts with different opportunities, especially with us declared as opportunity zone right now, to actually build the economic development within our community and take advantage of some of the things that we can partner on, you know, between the tribe, the town, and even look at some of our representatives that we have that come down to our area on a quarterly basis, you know, to get them involved even in the town stuff, to say, hey, this is what's impacting our community. This is what we need assistance for, and get the word out there within our other forms of government as well as our community.
One other thing with communication, I know this year that the town and the tribe worked together on the roads at the last snowfall. Let's see what we can do with the county now. Let's work with the county, the tribe, and the town. What can we do? This was one small little area that worked great for. We got everything cleaned up, ambulance services could make everywhere to go. That was one thing. Can you imagine if we all worked together? This is just travel roads. This is just plowing snow. There's a lot of snow. What's the chances of us working together? This is one thing. What if we work together with multiple things? What would that do to this community? I mean, think about it. Think about it. Whoever is sitting here, whoever's running this, needs to think about that. You have a great opportunity. It's up to you guys to go out and vote and decide what you want to do with it. I think there's multiple opportunities to cooperate and collaborate and communicate. You know, the 3 C's, let's do it. I mean, let's get out there and make this happen. I mean, you have the opportunity. Let's collaborate. Let's communicate. Let's work together.
Okay. At this point, I'm going to give each of you an opportunity to do a brief summary So try to keep it to about a minute and a half.
So like I said, I'm running for the treasurer position, and I don't think necessarily that, one of the questions that the Lakeland Times asked is what can I do different? It's not so much doing something different. It's about expanding of what we already did and kind of building those coordinated collaborative efforts and trying to find ways to sit there and utilize taxpayer dollars, for what the community needs are and what they're telling us is their needs, and trying to find ways of offsetting those tax dollars by doing some coordinated efforts and figuring out how we can bring more economic development within the community. Maybe it's in our healthcare, maybe it's in our, our public safety, maybe it's, just working on trails and, when everyone talks about the tourism around here. I just feel like when it comes to the numbers in that and doing budgetary stuff, that we need the input from the community and from both sides of the community, and to bring those together to sit there and really form a good collaborative effort, on the tax-paying dollars. Because I know everybody pays into the taxes, tribal or not, and figuring out what we can do best for those.
I guess in closing, I don't want to reiterate what I just said, but I think you guys have an opportunity. The town of Lac du Flambeau have an opportunity. It is up to you guys. Do you guys want to stay status quo, or you guys want to move forward? And I think the time has come for us to move forward. We need to work together and move forward. And I'll stick around if anyone else has any other questions for me, but thanks for coming. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm sorry there's only two of us, but at least maybe you have two that really care and matter. So thanks for Gloria for being here. Thanks for Bill for being here. I just appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, let's have a
There's a question.
Bob,
yes.
could we afford our school board candidate who's in the audience today to at least introduce herself?
Oh, sure.
Absolutely.
My name is Brittany Allen. I've been a longtime resident of Lac du Flambeau. I grew up here, moved away for a few years, went to school at Michigan State University, came back, worked, raising a family. I have a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I just feel that running for the school board, I can make a big difference in the things that I have noticed are shortcomings. We can expand our curriculum. We can expand the use of traditional cultural teachings in the school with our kids. Our kids, we have a school that's 97% Native American students. It's very important to me and a lot of other community members to accentuate their knowledge in our culture and our tradition. It will not only help them in the long run, it'll help them get to where they need to be in their lives, knowing who they are. I also feel that the bullying issue is a big thing. My son was bullied here, and for that reason, I pulled him and put him in a different school. It would be very convenient to parents like me to bring our kids back from the schools in the surrounding area to be in their community school. This is their school. There's no reason why we should have to drive our kids 20 miles to go to a different school because the curriculum or bullying isn't there. There's always going to be bullying, but I think there are different avenues we can take to better that issue and hopefully one day eliminate it totally. But I also believe it is very, very important to educate our teachers here because we don't necessarily have a high number of Native teachers in our school. And I believe that if we can educate our teachers to know our culture, know the backgrounds of these children and what their lives may be like a little bit at home, they'll have a better understanding and the kids will be able to relate a little more with them and feel more comfortable. So that is my spiel, and I'm hoping that everybody can go out and vote. We need a little bit of a change on our school board. And I'm a little bit young, I'm 29, but I'm here for our community and our kids, and I want to see our kids thrive in their education. It's very important, and it's very important for a community like ours to have that kind of education so they can go out and do what we're doing here today. So thank you for letting me speak, and see you guys April 2nd.
I think we're done. Everybody register and vote, please.